Hello dear students, welcome to the class of Health and Physical Education, Unit 5, Yoga. And today's topic which we are going to learn, that are the elements of yoga. In the last session, we have learned related to the meaning and importance of yoga. In meaning of yoga, we have learned yoga is been derived from a Sanskrit word, that is yuj, that means to unite or to join. It is a unification of soul with divine soul or supreme soul, that is unification of Atma with Paramatma. We have learned the meaning of yoga, which was been given according to the Patanjali, according to Maharshi Vedvyas, Lord Krishna, according to Agam. We have learned the meaning of yoga. We also learned the importance of yoga, how yoga is important for us. Today's topic we are going to learn, that is the elements. So we are having the elements of yoga, that are been 8 elements of yoga that are known as an Ashtang Yoga, that is named as an Ashtang Yoga. Ashtang Yoga includes yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan and samadhi. So these are the 8 elements that are being considered an 8-fold path through which an ultimate goal of an individual is being achieved. That means that person or an individual who want to attain, that is unification of Atma with Paramatma, that is attaining that goal through these 8 elements. When they used to follow on the path, when they used to walk on the path of this yoga, they can attain their goal. And goal attainment is what? That is unification of their soul with the supreme soul. So we are going to learn the elements. Let us start with the first element, that is known as an yam. So yam is the first element of Ashtanga Yoga. Through the practice of yam, one can abstain from doing the things that keep one's mind involved in inevitable struggle for survival. So the first element contains the 5 basic virtues or every man should possess. There are the 5 virtues. These are the 5 deeds, good deeds, which a person must possess. So yam deals with the cleansing of the soul. That means that how you can purify or how you can clean your soul. So when you are practicing these yams, that means that you can purify your soul. So it teaches us that we should not corrupt our soul by indulging in any of the wrong activities. When a person, when they are being away from these wrong activities or wrong deeds, they can purify their soul. So here there are the 5 yams that are considered in ahimsa, satya, aste, brahmacharya and aparigraha. So what is ahimsa? Ahimsa means you have heard the word non-violence. So non-violence means, when we are talking about the non-violence, that means that a person should be away from all the act of violence which causes the harm to other. Either it may be physically or mentally. Physical harm by beating, by kicking, by hitting any one of them, that are being considered physical harm. Mental harm, that is through the jealousy, hatred. Then we are having anxiety, anger. These are being considered as negative emotions. So person must be away from these negative emotions, all types of negative emotions. So we must remain away from these emotions. We must not injure any one of them. We must not speak bad or ill for others. We must not display any of the negative emotions. We should love. We must love and have affection and regards for the human beings and all creatures. That means they are talking about not only love and affection for the human beings, but also for the other creatures, like it may be insect, bird, animals or any of the creatures. We should love all these things. So you may find out that even though the plants, trees, the living beings, mostly it has been beings or the creatures are being considered living beings. So a person must have the love and affection. They should not have an act of violence for these all living beings. That has been considered non-violence. Satya means always they should walk on the path of truth or truthfulness. So we must not lie to any one of them. Even though hiding the truth from someone is also been considered lie. It is also an act of lie. So in that way we must in that way we deny his right to know about the actual thing. So Satya, the person must always walk on the path of Satya. We must be truthful in our thought, words, and the deeds. We always used to say, whatever I have said, I used to do. That is, walk on the path. The deeds also should be good, and we must not tell lie to any one of them, or we must not lie any one of them, and we must not decide any one of them also. We must not cheat also. That is also been considered as considered one type of lie. So that has been considered Satya. Then third we are having third yam has been considered aste or non-stealing, and we are having stay. Stay means stealing, and aste means opposite of stay is considered aste. So stay means stealing. Use the word stealing. So stealing is been considered crime both legally and morally. So stealing of the things, stealing of the person, stealing of the money, property, or stealing of the any of the things is been considered as stealing. It's been considered stay. So to steal the possession of the thoughts, even though when we used to steal the ideas or thoughts of others, is also been considered one type of steal. It also been considered one type of stay. So for their own benefit, you may see that for the person's own sake, they used to steal. Either it may be money, it may be any of the thing, or it may be the thoughts or ideas. So a person must abstain from all these things, and even thinking about the stealing something is wrong. When we are having a thought, let me do like this, that stealing the things is also been considered as wrong. So we must neither steal anything nor motivate others to steal, and we should not insist any one of them so that they may steal, because this is also an act of consideration, act of stay. So a person must practice a stay or non-stealing. Then fourth yam is been considered brahmacharya. The person must always follow the path of brahmacharya. That means they should take the diet that stimulate that we should not take such type of diet that stimulate the sexual desire, nor we should read the pornographic or sex related literatures. Either we should not take a diet which used to stimulate our sexual desire, or nor we should nor we should read such type of literatures or books which are being sex related, and must not indulge in any sexual relations is considered as an brahmacharya. So we must keep this in our mind, and so we can follow the path of brahmacharya. Then fifth yam is been considered aparigraha. You have heard the aparigraha means holding the things or collection of the things, because the person, you have seen the basic nature of a human being is to collect. Either it may be a money, or it may be a property, it may be gold, it may be silver or diamond, or collection of these things So a person should be away from all this, and they should lead their life with the minimum requirement. That is been considered aparigraha. So aparigraha is much needed in the today's world, where the people are busy hoarding wealth. Aparigraha teaches us to live with a minimum thing which are enough to sustain our life. It is aparigraha tells only one thing, that the how much the person required to survive the life is considered as an aparigraha. That means that they should lead their life with a few things, or whatever the basic requirements are there. If they are getting the basic requirement, then they should lead their life with that only. There should be no any of the too much luxurious things, or not holding any of the things of either money or property or gold and silver. So hoarding all these things that should not be there. So aparigraha means living the things with the minimum requirement is considered aparigraha. This was the first element. Second element is niyam. Niyam consists of 5 niyams are there. There are the consist of 5 elements. A person must, or an individual must follow this, because niyams are related to the body's individual body and senses. So there are the 5 niyams like Soch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyay and Ishwar Paridhana. Soch means purity, the purity of the body. Soch means purity or true cleanliness is being achieved when outer body is being free from the dirt and pollutant, and inner organs are functioning well. And if the inner organs are functioning well, are being considered that it is being considered purity. various asanas are being performed to keep the organs healthy. We already learnt in the importance of yoga. In the importance of yoga, we have learnt in the physical purity that person should perform different types of kriyas and different types of pranayams and yogic exercise through which they can clean their internal organs, even though their mind also. So here the purity, when we are talking about the purity, there are different types of shatkarms kriyas like dhoti, neti, basti kriya. Then we have learned related to kapalbhati, that are the pranayams, kapalbhati kriya, which also helps us in the purifying the internal organs. So that has been considered Soch. Second niyam is been the person is been considered santosh, that is contentment. Santosh means, it is the very good word of santosh is to satisfy. It means to be satisfied with whatever we have. A person should be satisfied whatever they are having, they should satisfy themselves. So more the expectation, more the frustration, because you know that the human wants are unlimited, but satisfying means are very limited. So human wants are unlimited, so they are always used to desire that I should have a house. When they used to get a flat or a house, then after they used to desire that I should have a car. So after getting a car, they should desire many more things, having a luxurious types of things. So these all desires are unlimited. So when they are desires, when the expectations will be more, they will be getting more and more frustrated if they are not being fulfilled. So here, when we are talking about the santosh, that means that whatever the things which we are having, a person should satisfied with that, and uh, they should feel that whatever it is being given, that is, they should give themselves to the God. That whatever I am having, this is due to the God gift. This is the God gift. So be happy with your life, and you will leave no chance of being disappointed, and the person will always be happy. So we must feel satisfied that with what the God has given us, we should not obsess after desires. Then we are having next is third niyam is tap means hard work or the work. Bring discipline into your life. Focus all energies in achieving your life goals. So tap endures the difficulties, obstacles, and complex situations are easily in the way of attaining the objective, and to go ahead continuously toward the goal is called as in tap. When that means that very simple sense, when the person works hard, so whatever the obstacles or complex situations are being going to arise in his or her life, they are going to overcome from all these situations. And we should accept the conflicts. We should also accept the conflicts like pleasure and pain. Might be success and failure. That means that person should be able to accept all these things. They should either be having a loss or gain in the same spirit. So tap means doing the hard work and achieving or the object or achieving the goals is been considered tap. Then swadhyay. Swadhyay is considered. We are having that swadhyay. There are two types of. You have seen that the person used to go in the swadhyay classes, because in that classes they used to study related to the different types of yog darshans, Upanishads, Granth, and Ved. They are being taught. Many of the saints, they used to preach. They are the preachers. They used to preach related to the Gita. They used to have the preachings related to the Mahabharata. Either it may be Ramayana. So they are being devoted. These are being considered one type of study. Another, this is considered first type. Another type of study is a self study. Self study tells us that to introspect yourself. Introspect means to ponder who you really are. That is to know about who I am, what should I do, what I am doing, or what am I doing, what is the aim of my life. The So these are being considered as an this study is being considered as an swadhyay. This is another type of study. So we are having two types of study. One through the Ved, Granth, Upanishads, and that all, and another type of study is a self study. So swadhyay is being considered as a self study. Then Ishwar Paridhana. Ishwar Paridhana means the God is omnipresent. That is, it is important stage of the niyam. To dedicate all the deeds to the God is called as an Ishwar Paridhana. In such stage, A true devotee thinks that whatever facilities are and the prosperities such as body, mind, youth, intelligence, position, power, money, whatever the property, whatever it is been there, it is only achieved in my life only due to the God grace. Because you have seen that many people used to speak that this is due to God grace, because they believe in this. So Ishwar Paridhana, the person should follow this also. This is one of the niyam that whatever happens, it happens for the betterment, and they must give themselves to the God. So he or she should surrender to the God and remove the vanity, pride and ego and impurities from his or her mind. That has been considered as a fifth niyam. So these are the yam and niyam. These are the two elements. Then the third we are having, that is asana. So what do you mean by asana? So asana means a physical posture or the exercise that used to improve the strength of the body, and that also provides the balance. So these asanas are beneficial for the inner organs. It used to strengthen all the inner organs. It also helps us in circulation of the blood and carries the oxygen. That has been considered oxygenated blood is being carried out through all over the body. It brings the flexibility and agility by stretching the muscles. Asanas helps in maintaining the posture. If the person is having the deformity, we have learned this point is in the importance of yoga, that asana helps us in maintaining the posture. Those who are having postural deformities can be cured or prevented with the help of these asanas. There are no age restriction. Each and every people, either it may be an old age people also, they used to perform the asana. So there are the different types of asana like halasan, tadasan, chakrasan, vajrasan, gaumukhasan. There are the various asanas are there. So this is the picture which has been shown here of the Surya Namaskar. You must also practice you can see the topmost position, folded hands. This is the first position. Then inhalation, raising up the hand, bringing down, exhalation, then inhalation, then resist, then after exhalation, inhale, exhale. You can see that these are the 12 poses a person must practice to keep themselves fit and mentally strong and well. Then fourth we are having fourth element is pranayam. So pranayam consists of the three simple exercises. Pranayam includes related to the breathing exercise. So here we are having pranayam consists of the three simple exercises that are related to the breathe. Purak, that is to inhale, Rechak means to exhale, and Kumbhak means to retain. Now there are the two types of Kumbhak, internal and external. When we inhale and when we used to hold the breath, it is known as an internal Kumbhak, or that is known as an internal Kumbhak. When we used to exhale and we used to retain, that is known as an external Kumbhak. So we are having two types of Kumbhak. Then pranayam involves the controlled breathing. Pranayam involves what? Controlled breathing. So it also practiced with some of the asanas. It is considered beneficial for the lungs and helps in boosting the counts of the RBC. Here counts of the red blood cells also increases. So this pranayam is also been practiced with some of the asanas. So here we have seen in the Surya Namaskar at the top, when it is being performed at some of the places, inhalation, exhalation, where it is need to hold the breath, it is being done. Then afterwards inhale, exhale, bending forward, exhalation, upward is been considered inhalation. So these are the there are the different these are the methods. There are the methods which the person must follow, the pattern for inhalation and exhalation. So pranayam is being related. There are different types of pranayams like Bhastrika, Kapalbhati, Anulom Vilom, Brahmari pranayam, Udgit. So these are the types of pranayam. So these are the various types of pranayam: Ujjayi, Sabdavedi, Sheetkari, Shitali, Bhastrika, Brahmari, Murcha and Palavani. So pranayam helps in regulating the metabolic activity and enhances the function of the heart and the lungs. So lungs and heart function increases. It also provides the longevity of the life. The length of the lifespan of an individual also increases by doing this pranayam. These are the fourth element. Then fifth element which we are having, that is pratyahar. So pratyahara is mastering the control over the senses, all the senses, Either it may be touch, it may be sight, it may be taste, smell, or listen, or ear through hearing. These are being considered as five senses to hear. So these five senses must be controlled. The person must be able to control all these five senses, and that is only through the practice they can control. A very good examples are being given that you learn to unheard the useless voice like creaking of the fan. When you used to sit in a meditative pose, you may, if you are having a complete silence and if you are focusing, you may also hear sometime that the creaking of the fan, the voice like creaking of the fan, dripping of the tap, droplets of the tap, drops of the water from the tap. You may also hear the voice of the birds, chirping of the birds, or any of the metal which has been fallen down, whatever it may be. You may, because your senses totally used to work. So here they used to tell us that Pratyahara tells us that a person must master the to control over all the senses. Whoever may touch you, you may not be able to know that if you are sitting in a meditative posture, that somebody has touched, or you may are having some of the smell which used to divert your mind. These all things are that used to divert your mind. So you must be able to control, or you must master to control all these senses. So it can be achieved through the meditation. After, you will be distracted, but slowly you will learn to gain the control over all your senses. So through this you can control the senses. In Pratyahara, the senses no longer respond to the external object that hinders the mental concentration, and that is not going, that is so that you can focus totally on the concentration, you can meditate well. And the individual, from the way of the you can see that the diverts the attachment of the various senses such as word, beauty, touch, taste and smell, etc., diverts the individual from the way of the self-awareness, self-welfare. The practitioners of the Pratyahara start feeling extreme pleasure in the remembering the God, and so that their mind will not be distracted and they will be totally focusing towards the God. So that is the Pratyahara. Then we are having Dharana. So Dharana is the second stage of the meditation. Dharana means to focus all your energy at one point. So after Pratyahara, you are having Dharana, because now you're totally having a focus towards the God or towards the divine soul. It means that to not to let your mind wander, to discard all your random thoughts. It helps in steadying the mind. Your mind will be totally being steady, to realize that which thoughts are worth keeping and which are not. And then afterwards you will be you can identify the thought, that which thoughts are good for you, because the thoughts are not going to stop, that are going to come and go away. Let the thoughts go as it is. Need not to hold any of the thoughts, or need not to you go the any of which thoughts are good and which are bad, you that is to be seen. So the time passes by and you are lost in your own thoughts, completely detached from the outer world. And then afterwards you will be having the only one thought, that is toward the God, toward the divine soul. So that is considered dharana. Then seventh element is been considered dhyan, meditate. So dhyan sets the stage of the dhyana. When all the useless random thoughts have been done away with, only then can you concentrate. When you are away from all the thoughts, then only you can concentrate, because otherwise you will be having, whenever you will be having a distraction, you will not be concentrate on the divine soul or any of the particular one thing. It is the stability and complete calmness of the mind. If your thoughts are scattered, how you can do a work with perfection? So dhyan needs complete attention of the mind, no diversion and no distraction. So here dhyan is a process of complete consistency of mind. So whenever we perform any of the specific tasks in a family, it is usually advised, whenever we are doing any of the activity in our family also, it has been advised that dhyan se karna. That means to do the work with complete focus or concentration. But we do not understand the appropriate meaning. In fact, dhyan is a complete concentration of the mind over a period of time without any distraction. Whenever a person is being involved in any of the activities and he is having a full concentration and he doesn't know that what is going around him, is been considered as in dhyan. So he is having a total complete focus and without having any type of distraction, and he used to complete his work. That is being considered dhyan. So dhyan needs complete attention of your mind and no diversion and no distraction. Then the last element or Ashtanga Yoga, the last element is being considered samadhi. So samadhi is the ultimate union of your soul with the God. So you have seen that many of the saints, they used to take a samadhi. So samadhi, when they are in a samadhi, that means that they are totally been away from whatever is been happening, and they are directly connected toward the God. That is the unification of their soul with the divine soul. It is a stage where you loses yourself to God. The concept of I, me, and mine hold no significance to you. It is the true attainment of the God. So the union of the individual soul with the supreme soul is called as in samadhi. Samadhi means what? Union or unification of the individual soul with the supreme soul. Samadhi is also called as in checking or destruction of all the impulses of mind. During the stage of dhyan, when the disappearance or the self-awareness takes place, the yogic or yogini attains the stage of samadhi. There is no self-awareness as disappearance. The self-awareness has totally been disappeared, and now they are directly connected towards the God. They have directly joined or united towards the God. He or she forgets himself completely, and he or she brings to the experience the divine pleasure, and he used to just sit and enjoy the divine pleasure. That is been considered as samadhi. So these are the Ashtanga Yoga, that are the 8 elements. So you should learn this, you should prepare this yam, niyam, and the person must follow. And if you want, and if any of the person they want to attain their goal, that is, they want to achieve their goal, like an individual soul, if they want to attain or unite their soul with the divine soul, then they should follow these 8 elements of this yoga, that are Ashtanga Yoga. But the person must follow yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, and dhyan. They must do. Every person must follow this. I am not talking about the samadhi. Is the last stage. That is the person or the yogis or the yoginis or the saints or sadhus who has achieved the mastery over. Then only they are being able to have this samadhi. Otherwise it is not a very easy task to have this, but a person must follow. Rest of others, these 7 elements individual must follow in his or her life. So you can prepare the notes on the basis of this. So for today, this much from my side. Thank you. If you are having any doubts, you can comment.